We live?
Yeah.
I think that we didn't got the thumbs up saying that we are live. We're going to start that clock. Yep. There we go. We are official now. Hey, here we are again with another fabulous show of Let's Talk About It Wednesday, where we are here each and every Wednesday at some point, right?
Yes, sir.
Bringing you news that you can use, to better help educate, empower, and enhance you, the community. Brother Joe, what's going on with you today, my man?
Oh, man, a tough day of assisting the mother-in-law with moving and grooving, and let me tell you, leave that to the young bucks.
Absolutely. Well, I remember those days, man. But, it's, I don't know, it's about 30 degrees today. Pretty decent outside today. But, man, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's, like you said, just age and, the cold weather just kind of sits in your bones sometimes. And you're just like, oh, man, what's really going on?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Super Bowl.
Sir.
Super Bowl's coming up, man.
Yes, the Snooper Bowl is coming up. What are we planning? Well, we got one heck of a strategy. So we're going to support the New England Patriots because they are part of the AFC, unfortunately. However, with that being said, we're hoping that things do work out for Seattle because we'd like to see, their quarterback get a ring after, he could wipe it in the Vikings' face, like, look what you did to me type deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't necessarily want to see New England surpass us as the all-time winningest team in the NFL, too, with that 7th championship ring. So that we don't want to see. But we're rooting for the AFC. So it's kind of complicated,
Yeah, that sounds very complex, brother. I just said pick a team. I mean,
it's kind of like when I'm right, I'm wrong. But if I'm wrong, I'm right. But I really could be wrong. But I also might really be right, too. So if I'm right, maybe I am wrong.
Right. Okay, all right. Hey, I don't even know if I should ask any more questions with answers like that. You have to elaborate a little bit for me on this coaching swap, with the Steelers and.
Yeah, so we lost our coach out to the Cowboys, and we ended up with the Cowboys coach McCarthy in Pittsburgh. And so a lot of folks were like, yeah, well, the plus side is that, him and Favre would be back together again. I mean, not Favre, but Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, but the thing of it is that, I don't know if anyone really wants to see Rodgers come back.
Right.
We didn't want Rodgers to begin with. Of course, things kind of went a little bit better than we expected him to. But Rodgers quit on us at the end of the season. And I don't know if anybody really caught on to that. I know I did. But at that last game, when we had 4 minutes left and it didn't look like we could win the game, instead of finishing up the game, he kind of went to the sideline and, we don't know who came in at that point. But it was just like, dude, come on, have some pride, finish the season out with your team, the guys you played hard with. And maybe he didn't feel it that way. Maybe he just felt like this is a way to make sure I leave this game in one piece at the end of my career. But that's kind of how I saw it, and I'm sure maybe some more folks saw it that way. So we do want to see, Aaron, do something somewhere other than Pittsburgh.
hey, we're going to have to take that bag from somebody over there. Hey, I was quite shocked. I was quite shocked that the Vikings had fired the GM.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't hear about that?
I did, but you missed the season or what?
Well, let me, hold on for a second. See, now, he is definitely not the cause for the Minnesota Vikings season.
Somebody's got to take the hit, though.
Well, and that's just the problem.
We know it wasn't coaching.
That is just the problem. I think that there was plenty of blame, if you will, if you want to talk about the Viking season and why we ended up the way that we did.
Well, he signed off on the decision to trade the quarterback who is now in the Super Bowl. I mean, I fired him too. Why is he at the Super Bowl while we're still buying tickets?
Well, here's the thing. I can guarantee that owner and other individuals had a decision on if they wanted to pay Donaldson that money.
Yeah.
And so when they decided not to pay him that money,
Yeah.
then stuff just kind of rolls downhill.
Well, I mean, Donaldson. I mean, you have to look at it like this here. At some point, it is about money, but the other times you want to at least get one Super Bowl attempt. Okay. Right. And I mean, you trade a guy who puts you in the best possible chance of getting there. And I think when I look at that, I look at it like, okay, the chemistry with the players, right? I think, what's his name, Addison and Jefferson were just everywhere catching balls when that kid was there. And I don't know, toward the middle of the season, you started realizing, like, is Jefferson still on the team? Because he wasn't throwing him the ball, right? And, I mean, Jefferson was so wide open half the season that I'm sure he wrote some Dear Mom letters during that time period because there was nobody guarding him. He was wide open every time, and he just never threw him the ball. And it was frustrating. You could see him. I think to be such a young player, he held his composure really good, because he was throwing the ball in different directions, and he was wide open every time, Right. So.
Well, I'm going to stick with my opinion in regards to Donaldson, whether he's in the Super Bowl, whether he wins or not.
Yeah.
I think it was time for him to leave Minnesota. I do not think, feel, or believe that we made the right choice with putting J.J. McCarthy in his place. I think we could have went out and got someone a little bit better, a better choice. But I do not believe that he would still have been a good fit. I think we would have had a better season, yes. Do I think that we would have been where he is today, as far as kind of going to the Super Bowl? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hit or miss. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's understandable because these guys are purple. I mean, the Vikings. But, yeah, there was a better chance when he was there. I really think because the mindset. So the Vikings typically, I mean, every season they throw the ball long and they have great success. And then you start trying to get conservative toward the middle of the season. You're running the ball more. You're throwing short passes. And I really think when you got guys like Addison and Jefferson, and I watch these guys play, I'm hard on teams. And I'm talking about these guys, they don't take plays off. You know what I'm saying? When Jefferson's not getting the ball, he's still blocking. He's still running downfield. Some guys won't even complete the route. This guy runs down, even if the ball's not coming to him, he runs a complete route. So he's doing his part. I think you got to reward him. I mean, and you've seen that he can make great catches when you throw him the ball.
Oh, absolutely.
So. Yeah, we simply have some offstage crunching bunch there, some technical difficulties with a visitor from the outside. For those of you who are wondering, that is a Kevin Keaton. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, man, when you go live, man, things happen. And by the way, guys, he was really enjoying his popcorn. I mean, yeah.
I don't even know how to follow up with that one. But, hey, with that being said, man, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to you so you can go ahead and hit it with some groundkeeping rules in that famous backpack. So then, therefore, we can jump right on into it because there's definitely some things that we need to kind of talk about in regards to not only with some new changes that's kind of happening with the whole ICE, if you will, being here in Minnesota, but also with the campaign, Banks for Sheriff campaign. So I definitely want to kind of talk about that a little bit as well. But go ahead and hit them with them groundkeeping rules in that famous backpack.
Sure, sure. So, guys, we're here from 5 to 6 every Wednesday, and we appreciate you guys joining us. We just simply ask that you respect everyone's questions and comments. Remember, you can text us, call us, or try into inboxes, and we'll do our best to answer your questions on this show. And if not, we'll try to get you on the very next show. With that being said, we start, middle, and end every show with the backpack. And that backpack consists of making sure you have your driver's license and insurance with you before you get in that vehicle. Remember to place them above the visor. That way, if stopped by law enforcement, it won't be mistaken for a weapon. Remember to stay calm. Allow the officer to go through his spills. Keep your hands where they can be seen. And as always, 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 make it home to your loved ones. Same thing when walking down the street. Make sure you got your driver's license or ID where it's easily accessible. Remember to stay calm. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Allow the officer to go through his spiel. And as always, 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 make it on home to your loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to piggyback on that just a little bit because there has definitely been an uptick as a firearms instructor, as an independent. And I've also kind of seen it, at other different locations where young folks, 18, 20, 19, whatever, have been receiving their permit to purchase or the permit to carry, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And I just really want to encourage these young folks that when you are driving or when you are having your permit to carry and you have your weapon on you, that your ID and your permit and things of that nature is matching. But please make sure that you are alerting, these officers that you have this weapon on you, the type of weapon, where it's located, things of that nature to increase your to decrease your opportunity of getting in any type of unnecessary or unwanted situation. So then therefore you can quickly move on to your next stop and so on and so forth. Be calm, be courteous. Again, if you're getting into something you feel or believe that you're being mistreated for one reason or another, that stop is not the time to call yourself attempting to argue or challenge, whatever it is that you think you're being done wrong about. There's a time, a place, and a system for that. So please utilize it.
Yes, yes.
With that being said, they have Mr. Holman, I believe his name is Tom Holman? Huffman. Mm-hmm. That has kind of come in and has kind of taken over, as the immigration.
Yes, they're calling him the border czar.
The border czar. Mm. Okay. All right. Well, he's talking about how, I guess agreements, mm-hmm. Have been made, and they're supposed to be getting rid of, I shouldn't say getting rid of, removing, 700 more agents that were here, that they're also looking at putting on body cams and looking at maybe, removing the mask from their faces and having a little bit more of a direct kind of a program or more of a direct way of that they're going to go about, kind of
targeted apprehensions.
There you go. There I'm still tripping about this popcorn. But yes, but again, then now the state of Minnesota, and the law enforcement here is also looking at having to, adhere to some things as well, but here recently, you still have the chief of Minneapolis, stating that his officers have a duty, to intervene, if their officers kind of see ICE, violating, one's civil rights. And if they do not, then they can perhaps receive some type of reprimand.
Well, listen, I was under the impression that under the Constitution and the oath that they took, that was a responsibility prior to the order. I don't know if we missed like the first class of law enforcement training or what, but Jesus Christ, please do your job. I mean, and that's not to say that Minneapolis hasn't tried to do their job. I know there's been some restraints with the different ordinances, policies that the department have in place. However, I think Chief O'Brien has always said that his guys would try to make sure that they kept people safe, but they didn't want to get involved with immigration enforcement. And so just so that we're clear, I don't think anyone's ever said get involved with immigration enforcement. What they're basically asking is that you have their backs while they're trying to do the enforcement. And so, again, immigration has always said that, one of the reasons why they brought more folks in was because they felt they couldn't get response from the local PD when they called for emergencies. And so as a result of that, they had to bring more people in to have their guys back while they're trying to do their jobs. Truth or not, the bottom line of it is we do need to make sure that they're safe while trying to do their jobs. And as the local law enforcement, we still have a responsibility to keep people safe and make sure that both parties are not violating state laws. So, definitely, if you see some guys that are being bad actors, intervene and save the people. Please don't consult someone to decide whether or not it's okay to stop someone from beating the hell out of me. Okay.
Well, I mean, there was some conversation in regards to, both local, state, prison system, having to alert, our immigration, about potential individuals in custody and turning them over. Officers, law enforcement officers needing to check, the status of potential individuals that are here illegally, things of that nature. So I guess there's a lot of things that are not necessarily.
Well, I think they're standing firm on that. They're not asking cops to necessarily screen for immigration status as much as they're asking the jails to. So what they're saying is if this guy is in custody, we want you guys to at least contact us to make sure whether or not he's, here illegally or not, and then we'll send someone to pick him up. And so the question is, with the jails, how long do we hold him? Are you guys going to come get him? And then who's going to incur the expense for the additional time of holding him? As you know, some jails have expressed concern over holding him past their legally discharge point once they've been ordered released from a judge, right? And so I think what you do is you clarify that with with ICE in terms of time frame. Hey, you know what? This guy can only be here a certain amount of time. That window is going to be short, and you guys need to send somebody, or you're going to be forced to catch him, right? But at least make the notification that it needs to happen. Now, here's what we will get. We've been getting a lot of. Let me just move this mic a little bit. That's going to bother me. But we've been getting a lot of pushback, that's going to be violating civil rights by notifying ICE and things of that nature. It's not a happy circle for anybody. Right, it's an uncomfortable feeling because we do not want to just be calling people specifically because of their heritage or where they come from. However, if there is a circumstance where the person is alleged to have committed a crime, then this is an alleged bad actor. We do want to have some people get involved if that kind of helps keep people safe, and at the same time, if that deters immigration from walking up and down the streets, then let's go back to getting them picked up at the jails. Now, I mean, there's always going to be pushed up on that, but the only fix for that is immigration reform. Now, that doesn't come from law enforcement. It comes from the people. The people have to say, you know what, here's what we think works best. This is what the differences we want to see and the changes we want to have in place. And so the people need to, again, reach out to their leadership in Congress and, representatives in that nature to have those type of things take that place. But that's what needs to happen. But for right now, I think it's a win-win when we can get law enforcement and the feds on the same page, doing the job still to keep the community safe, but at the same time, not accosting the citizens. So that's important.
When you talk about law enforcement and feds being on the same page, I thought that it was quite interesting that I read that our current sheriff, Miss Witt, had stated that she felt that she was being scapegoated, by the feds, but that she was open to some cooperation.
Yeah, I thought that was very unique too. And for me, listen, I've been saying it all along, guys. It's okay when it's a photo op moment and things of that, but we need to become realist, right? The realistic point of it is that we were going to have to work with the federal government, whether we wanted to or not. Why? Because that's how we've been working for years. Okay, and those are our resources, and we're their resources. And as long as they give us a heads up, hey, we're coming into your county, we're looking for X, Y, and Z. Here's where we're going to go. Can you have some guys in place so that when we come there, we can do this with the least amount of intrusiveness to the community and keep folks safe? Then we're all for it.
I'm sure, like yourself and we've been having some conversations with a lot of community members. And we'll talk a little bit more about the caucuses and stuff here a little bit later here. But one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say is that they don't believe that I guess the feds, if you will, presented a table, for our governor, our attorney general, our sheriff, the mayor from Minneapolis, the chief of Minneapolis, et cetera, to be able to sit down and have this conversation as far as how, where, when, why this operation was going to take place. And I find that quite interesting because my thing is let's just say, for example, they didn't allow you in the room for whatever reason, which I don't understand why they would not allow you in the room. But again, just to say, argument's sake, that they didn't let you in the room. When you have these type of situations and circumstances in your state, in your county, and those may not be willing to play nice in the sandbox, if you will, then you need to make your own table.
Right.
You need to make your own table, so then therefore you're still able to have these conversations with those who are willing to be at the table, so then therefore you can still be able to educate, empower, and enhance your community versus providing feedback or information that's not positive or productive, and therefore certain issues and concerns arose.
I mean, the thing is, you gotta stay calm and you gotta think your way through this. This is a time for calmness and thinking. Now, the order came from the top, which was the president, and he said, "I need us to step it up in immigration enforcement." What a lot of people don't realize is he didn't necessarily send the logistics on how that would happen, because he assumed that the folks in charge of that would put together those logistics and have a smooth transfer within the powers, right? However, when you draw lines in the sand and decide, hey, we're not working with you, and we're forced to use alternatives because we know we're still coming, we just don't know what that looks like until we hit the ground, and then we find out for sure that we're not working together. Now, if we were confused about what not working together looked like, then I'll take you back to the conversation where the supervisor from Homeland Security contacted Minneapolis Police Department. It was a wrong number, so he ended up with a non-emergency number that he did call back on for the sheriff department. And when they got that call, as you heard, the dispatcher was trying to clarify who he was. He identified himself as a supervisor with Homeland Security and said, hey, I have several agents that are in the area of Chicago Lake, possibly being assaulted. I'm not sure if they're down on the ground or not, but we need help. Now, that conversation told me right away that we need to fix something. Why? Because we have federal agents on the ground screaming for help, and they're dialing 911 like they're you or me, right? These guys should have had communication in place where they could have squeezed the radio and had troops coming their way, and they should have had bodies already there, right? So that if you didn't get the memo, then you knew then that, okay, well, you know what? That can't happen again. We need to do something to help these guys so this situation does not get worse. Now, I said it back then. I said that it's going to get worse because when you still leave those guys out there on the street and you're saying you're not going to help them, At some point, they're going to run out of pepper spray. At some point, they're going to run out of pepper balls. All they have left then is deadly force, right? Because if they get cornered and feel like they're in a situation where they're going to be physically harmed, they're going to defend themselves. Now, the sad part out of it is that, yeah, given the fact that there was a mistrust between law enforcement and the community, when that does happen, you get a negative response from the community, right? And we end up with folks that were improperly force used on, okay? Now, the thing of that is, like I said, even then, we didn't take action, right? I agree that, there's a chance that there was excessive force used. However, what happened to law enforcement then, right? Because when they were arresting folks in the courthouse, the sheriff said that, hey, you know what? Our responsibility is to make sure that we protect the court and the court services in the jail, and we don't really get involved in immigration enforcement, and that the ICE agents had the right to come in the courthouse. You couldn't stop them. And again, what did I say? Well, what are we prepared to do when someone really gets hurt by one of these agents in your jurisdiction? Are you going to do something then? So when someone gets shot and killed, we still don't do anything. We fall back on the fact that, well, they're federal agents. They don't want to share the evidence. I mean, you could have made the arrest in your city, in your county. This is your state. Whether or not they prosecuted them or moved it to a federal court, that's an issue for the courts and the prosecutors. But you had a legitimate chance to do your job, and you didn't do so. And when you don't do that, and when the chief law enforcement officer does not reinforce it with clear direction that you're okay making that arrest, right? Then you have the problems you have with the agencies going, are we able to make this arrest? Are we not able to make this arrest? And you got guys going, we don't get involved. To the community, what that looks like is, you know what? The police aren't going to protect me. I've got to protect myself because they're not going to help me. And so that just re-intensified the fear, because when you look over and see that the police can't do anything to protect you, you're really terrified then, right? Because as so many agencies have said, we know that they're out there doing harm to individuals. We know that they're out there breaking laws, and we're asking for this to stop. Really?
Right.
Isn't it your job to go out there and stop those bad actors in your community? And so that's what the expectation that the citizens had, was that you would stop them from being assaulted. And so that should have been the clear message going, is that, you know what, we're going to support our federal partners, but any officer, federal or otherwise, that breaks the law, we're going to take care of business and do what we got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we're at, the point where we're at right now, and I'm pleased to hear that there has been some, communication and conversations being held, with the powers that be. If you were in that seat right now, as Hennepin County Sheriff, what would be your plan from now moving forward?
Well, I'll tell you what, first off, all those flights to D.C. that we've had our sheriff take, that would have been a chance to fly to D.C. and get clear, like, you know what I mean? Guys, what do we need to do to make this go away and fix this? Because, clearly we need a clear understanding. Now, you got the National Guard, you got the governor, you got the, Attorney General's office, you got the mayor, but these guys aren't trained in law enforcement, right? It's your job to understand the concept of what law enforcement logistics look like on the ground. One, we didn't have the manpower. Let's just be clear on that. Hennepin County does not have enough patrol deputies to have effected any type of prevention at all, right? Because they don't have the manpower. That's just the way it is.
Right.
I know that we want to keep painting it up, but we had deputies here and deputies there. 1.5 million people, right? 270 patrol deputies. Come on. As soon as Trump sent 300 cops here, it was over. Right? When you got 3,000, you overwhelmed the city's police department and the county's deputies. So, I mean, do the math. It didn't take long to go, yeah, they can't stop us. Well, let's just overwhelm them then, right? And that's exactly what happened. And I've been saying it all along. I know it's a budgetary issue, right? And we can work those logistics out. But it's either pay up front or pay on the back end. right? When we got loss of lives and property damage and overtime, as Whit said, over $500,000 in 2 weeks in overtime, right? You could have employed some people for $500,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I mean, it's just all about the logistics. I'm not with the they didn't support me and they tried to scapegoat me, because my thing of it is, you are already in a position. You should have been planning for the worst. We always plan for the worst, so that when the worst does happen, we're prepared. And so when we don't do that, I mean, I don't think we're being scapegoated. I think we got to pick proper targets to do what we got to do, and we have to be clear on the fact that we do need more manpower, and we got to get folks where they need to be, and we got to be upfront about what that manpower looks like and why we need that manpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're talking about being in the right place and things of that nature. You had an opportunity to get out last night, visit a couple different caucuses.
I did.
It seems like, you're being received, very well. There's a lot of individuals that are enjoying and liking that there's another candidate. There's a lot of individuals that are not 100% pleased with what's going on currently. With that being said, regarding, the people, we keep talking about the people. What is Banks's program, policy, procedures? What does Banks plan on doing as far as bringing the people in on this here? Because as you move forward, we have said it before, that it's going to take the people, right, in addition with law enforcement, to really make things work.
So I'm going to give you this short version of it, because I don't want to go into too much detail. But understand that I do got a plan that will allow the people to get involved, because it's their vision that's going to make Hennepin County better again. When you talk with the people, you understand exactly how they're being impacted by what's happening in the community, what's happening with their taxes, what they want to see happen at their police departments and sheriff's department, and the expectations of safety that people have. And the reality of it is that we had citizens who own businesses that didn't come to work anymore because they were afraid of being arrested by ICE. They felt like there was no resources for them to be able to get assistance with. And so we're going to do our best to reinforce the fact that our first priority is keeping the people 100% safe in Hennepin County, because they're Hennepin County's most valuable commodity is the people. All right. We are not going to be arresting protesters when we're not taking the time to arrest people who are accosting those protesters. Right. And let's be clear, too, in the middle of that, there were some professional rioters in those groups out there. And, of course, there were the folks that were protesting peacefully. But at the end of the day, we didn't do our part to keep people as safe as we could have. And the only reason that the city didn't burn is because the people cared enough about the issues not to destroy property. All right. So in the end, what we're going to be doing is making sure people get a clear understanding of what's happening around them. If ICE is coming to town and I'm in office, we're going to work with them to get a clear understanding of what it is that they're here to do, where it is they're trying to go, so that we can best inform the community and keep down fears. We're going to give out a list of expectations of how we expect them to operate while in our community, and ask them what do they expect of us while they're working with us as well. And through that partnership, we're going to still do immigration enforcement, but we're going to do it in a humane fashion that keeps people safe, and we'll get a chance to know where people are being detained, how their families can get in touch with them, and what the complete process on, so that people have a true understanding of what's happening with their family members.
Absolutely. Well, you can't really talk about all this immigration stuff without being able to touch on this fraud. Right? Everything's kind of getting mumbled and jumbled, whether it's, the fraud, immigration, religion, money, whatever, right? So as we're moving forward, this number, this dollar amount continues to seem to rise. And I haven't heard anything all the way up to $19 million or $19 billion or whatever it is. what do you think, Phil, or believe that we need to do in order to not only address the issue of fraud, but also to ensure that these type of fraudulent activities do not continue?
I think you just got to have some people on the ground that are actually going out to make sure the programs are doing what they said they're doing. When it comes to that, you look back and you say, well, what was it, 4 years ago almost today that when we went to a couple of different meetings, they were saying they didn't have enough state investigators to really follow up on certain types of fraud. But I mean, the bottom line of it is there was issues with people getting direct funding from legislations and stuff like that. There was money being handed out without any process of what it would look like to bring back the data, statistical data that would have shown exactly what we're doing. We didn't call them pilot programs, so we didn't kind of say, hey, in 6 months, show us what you did and we'll add more or take away. So these are the things that happen when we don't actually go to the people who need the services to make sure they're getting the services. And we're just throwing money at things, right? And with absolutely no accountability. And so this is what happened. I know that a lot of people want to blame the low man that got caught or the one who got caught with the funds in their hand. But anybody who understands fraud understands that in order for fraud to be productive and function, someone in a hierarchy has to be the one that allows it to go through. Right? Because there's checks and balances built in everything. And if you're at the top, the person at the top is always doing the checks and balances because that's your name to make sure they add up. And so if you say, yeah, it looks good to me, everyone go, oh, okay, it looks good to me then, right? And so that's what I think we have to make sure that people understand, that this, even though it's happening at the lower levels and the money's being disseminated, it has to be accounted for at the top of the food chain. When those folks are in the office, you got to go, well, why did you sign it if you thought it was not okay? Right? We got this guy because he got the money in his hand, but he got it from you because you gave it to him.
Right.
So why did you sign it? What did he give you to give you the A-OK to give this guy that kind of money with no checks and balances, right? And so that's how you have to look at it, like, pay attention to that. And I will say this, because I know that a lot of folks want to harp hard on the Somali organizations or family members and community members. And I will say this, that I don't think it's one targeted group. I think that when immigrants come here and they're trying to learn how government works and how the system works, they're going to latch on to the first thing you show them, the success that increases their better way of living, right? Not knowing whether or not that's right or wrong because they're not from here. They're assuming that what you're showing them is proper. And they're seeing the success of what they're doing by the funding, right? And if someone else is putting them in a position that's a bad position, and then at the end going, hey, you did it, right? We got to hold that person above accountable because, yeah, you set them up for failure. You built in a scapegoat yourself, right? Because you knew that when it went awry, I can point to you. You did it, you did it, you did it. Nobody's talking about who showed me this, because how did they learn this system? If I'm not from here, how did I learn what it takes to get approved through this fraud? You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's how I look at it. And, come on now. You got a daycare that you figure is feeding several thousand children with a capacity of 36. I mean, it never dawned on you there was a good chance that, this guy's putting people on the roof to feed him or what? I mean.
But you talk about, 4 years ago, roughly to the day, that they were talking about that they don't have enough, investigators, to kind of investigate a lot of this stuff. Well, we just had, was it 13, 14 U.S., attorneys, mm-hmm. And one of the advocates, victim advocates or something like that, they're mm-hmm. also, resign or leave their position. Yeah. And these individuals were, involved in some, cases, that's now going to fall, on other investigators, and things of that nature, which, again, is just going to draw a lot more concern.
Well, and here's my thing. It just delays the investigation, and as long as the investigation is delayed, the funding for those programs are going to be by the wayside. So what I'm really disheartened about is those people who actually need the services that are no longer receiving those services because the funding has been placed on hold while the investigation is being completed. So we have people out here that are fighting chemical dependency issues, mental health issues, homelessness issues, and things of that nature who don't have food, benefits that they need because somebody in some office has decided, you know what, we're not investigating that this week, and now these guys' funding is still on hold. So we need to understand that these are real people out here. We need to come up with a way to still make sure these services are getting met while doing the investigation. But we need to fix it and fix it today because there are a lot of people who were providing those services that aren't getting paid. And so since they're not getting paid, they're no longer providing those services.
Right, right. Well, a couple of different things. And number one, we're coming down to an end of another, family show. These issues and concerns and these topics are real. As you said, people are facing various different struggles. Some folks are upset because now the mayors of Minneapolis is talking about looking at trying to get money for some of these small businesses that's been struggling. They're talking about how they're losing various money on a daily basis and things of that nature. I guess that's kind of here nor there, but it just seems as if, it's always constantly, surrounding money, and it always seems like, but people's, like you said, people's bills, people's refrigerators, things of that nature still need food. The bills does not stop, and they didn't give us no breaks,
Exactly.
on that there. So what is it that, you would kind of give to the people? What would you say to the people that are having these issues right now today as we're sitting here? This is turning into a crisis.
You really have to educate yourself on the process so that you have a clear pathway to certain services and people that you need to touch bases with to have the outcome that you want. When it comes to chemical dependency issues, you need to really be in touch with your congressman because, those peer recovery co-specialists that were helping folks navigate their way through addiction aren't there anymore right now. Those PCAs that were providing services for family members, they're not there right there. They're not getting help. They're not getting paid. So the family members, hopefully some of the family members are still taking care of them, but they're not getting paid for the services. Those people who were providing services, they still got to pay bills, right? And so at some point they're forced to go, nope, I got to go elsewhere and take care of bills, which means the family members can't get service. And so it's just educate yourself on the process. Start writing letters to your congressman. Go visit your congressman, your representatives, and let them know that you need them to get up and make something happen. And then, when all else fails, you can always go to the Capitol and sit in on some sessions and let folks know that, hey, we need to affect some change. But we need that money to be sent back to the communities where they were being allocated toward. You can do extra scrutiny, checking, or whatever you need to do, but those people need the services for their housing. I give you a perfect example. There are some people where the funding that they held back from the housing program helped them to balance their rent. Right. And since they're no longer paying that portion of their rent, some folks are having to move. Right. Some folks are getting evicted. And those programs that were there in place to offset emergency assistance aren't there because that funding's been pulled. In the middle of that, you had a couple situations where we've had government shutdowns at the federal level and no funding at all went out. So it pushed folks even further behind. You know what I mean? So it's really bad right now. Just keep on working with the community, keep, voicing your opinion, but start, leaning on those representatives a lot more.
Well, I know that you have an event coming up.
Yes, yes.
Share a little bit more about that.
Well, on the 16th of February at 10 o'clock from 10 to noon, we are going to be having, a cup of Joe with Joe. We're going to be out there having a cup of coffee, and the location for that is 1128 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. So it's 1128 Harmon Place, South Minneapolis in the downtown area. Pop in, check us out. Come talk with me. Ask some questions. Have a cup of coffee, and it'll be a good chance for you to offer some donations and support the campaign and figure out what it is our plan is to try to make things better here in Hennepin County, so that we can keep people safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm assuming and expecting that there's going to be more of these conversations or coffees. Was a cup of Joe with Joe.
Yes, we will be having that cup of Joe with Joe pretty much every week. So, and we'll look at our calendar because it'll be 2 weeks out for each location. But you can start tracking it. So starting the 16th is our kickoff. And we'll have that first one in downtown Minneapolis there at 1828 Harmon Place South. So make sure you pop in and check us out. Come ready.
And how would they be able to reach your calendar?
You're going to go to www.banks4sheriff.com. Okay, that's www.banks4sheriff.com. Click on our page, go to the calendar, and we'll get you the information that you need. And there's a chat box there too, so if you have some questions or you want to volunteer, feel free to click on the chat box, and it'll walk you through getting set up to volunteer to help out with the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, again, we're down to another fabulous show of Let's Talk About It. I'm still just kind of thinking about this popcorn, bro. But I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I really don't care who wins. There's supposed to be a gentleman. I don't even really know what the guy's name is. That's supposed to be halftime. Performing halftime. He's I
thought Green Day was going to perform. Was it Green Day and somebody else?
Green Bay.
Green Day.
Oh,
rock group with no. Okay.
No, this is, from my understanding, it's supposed to be some type of Hispanic.
Okay.
Entertainer. He has some unique name. I'll just say that. I don't really know who he is. I just kind of heard, some coworkers that same nationality that was kind of talking about. So they were pretty excited, about it and stuff like that. There, I just was joking with him and just told him, don't tear the shirt off and show some nipple.
Yeah, we know what nipple can do.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's always fabulous, to be here each and every Wednesday. Again, if you want to come on down to the show, please feel free to contact us. My phone number is 612-702-9849. Again, 612-702-9849. I can also be contacted via email at abeekssr@gmail.com. That's abeeksenior@gmail.com. And we can definitely make that happen and getting you on down. Again, CCX Create cannot do this by themselves. So any donations that you may have, I'm certain that they will be more than willing to accept that. They're also looking for, new and unique dynamic shows. So if you have a show of your own that you're interested in doing, please kind of come on down and talk to the staff, and they will definitely get you taken care of. In regards to all of this trauma, the individuals that have lost their lives, we definitely want to send out our prayers and our condolences. We want to have the community to stay calm, stay focused, continue to protest peacefully. But again, it's you have to kind of get with your representatives to lobby and learn how to write bills in order to get that stuff into law, because the power comes from the people. Brother Joe, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to you so we can get on up out of here for tonight.
Yes, Jess. I just want to say, everyone, get yourselves a copy of the Bill of Rights so you can understand your rights as they are for you and here in the United States as a citizen. I know that a lot of us have been here since we were born, so we've taken it for granted, but understand that those rights were hard fought for. People died and bled so you can have the rights that you have today. And I want you to have a full understanding of what it is you're doing when you decide to protest and what you're actually fighting for. More importantly, I want you to understand that protesting is only one part of it, right? It's a part of you drawing attention to somebody doing a civil wrong to you or the community. And once you figure out what that civil wrong is, then you have a responsibility to come together and decide what will be the best way to fix that wrong so that it doesn't happen again. So it's not just out there shaking an angry fist, but it's also developing solutions to fix that problem so that moving forward it doesn't happen again. But, historically we've learned from bad actors, and we've done better moving forward, but we have to understand what that looks like as a community. So, and I believe we can get that done. I do want to thank Tom Hoffman for coming down with a fresh set of eyes on the situation with ICE in Minnesota, period. I want to thank him for taking the time to start the drawdown and to increase the peace in some fashion in the community so that people can start to have some resolve and begin to heal. It's my hope that at some point we'll draw back completely to normal numbers and we'll figure out what it looks like for us to work with our federal partners that doesn't put our community in a place to feel like they're in fear of their safety on a day-to-day basis. With that being said, again, make sure you got a passport or proper ID with you until we know for sure that you're in the clear. Make sure that you stay calm. And if you are stopped by ICE, don't put yourself in a harmful situation. Let those guys go through their spiel. Identify yourself that you are a U.S. citizen or your status or who you are, and then calmly ask, can you make contact with family members so someone knows what happened to you? And that way, if they do figure things out and you are able to return home, you can get home safely. And most important, and last but not least, at the very least, understand that you can ask for a writ of habeas corpus. Right? That's an important document, and it's basically saying that you're requesting a hearing in front of a judge to determine whether or not you can be held or released for a period of time, and that's an important statement. So just remember that. And final two pieces is if they're going to arrest you and they don't have a warrant, they need to know for sure that you are an immigrant and that you intend to escape from custody, right? They can't be trying to figure out, they need to know for sure. And there is a difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. The administrative warrant allows them to maybe extradite you if you're already outside of a place of business or residence, but the judicial warrant allows them to enter your business or your home. So just ask those questions and find out that information ahead of time so you know for sure kind of what it is that you're dealing with when you're dealing with immigration. So just knowing your rights and being aware of what your rights are will help you in the long run. Okay. With that being said, guys, we want to thank everyone for joining us. It was a really, really good show. I hope it was very informative. We did kind of slow things down to make sure that you clearly understood what it is we're trying to convey to you. To our officers out there in the community, keep doing the job that you do. We know it's a very tough time for all of you guys, and we appreciate you still showing up, putting on a uniform, and coming to work. And understand, yes, you do have the authority to arrest someone if they commit a crime in your presence, even if they have a federal badge. Okay? With that being said, my name's Joe Banks.
And I'm Anthijuan Beeks.
And we just talked about it.
Peace.